Welcome to a new edition of 2-Year-Olds in Training for the Harness Edge. I'm Harold Howe, and I'm here with Mark Etsell at Strong Stables, just north of Mohawk Racetrack. Mark, we've got half a dozen to look at of yours, but just before we start on that, I had a question for you. You've got an interesting bunch, pedigree-wise. There's a little bit of everything for anyone who likes trotters. When you went to the yearling sales last fall, I mean, anybody knew it was going to be hard plugging because fewer horses, especially Ontario sired, you're going to have to pay a premium and so forth. And I guess, what was your strategy going into last year's sales?
Well, initially we went to buy Ontario breds, but that wasn't very successful. I felt they were very overpriced for what they were, and we just couldn't handle it. So we raced a bit in New York last year, and so we aimed at the New York program again.
You're a bit of an oddity in that, is because a lot of Ontario-based guys, they're Ontario-centric.
Yeah, well, we're not real far from New York here, and I traveled a bit there last year. It's just a few, like Yonkers and Monticello is a bit of a drive, but other than that, it's not too bad. I like their program. They have more starts for 2-year-olds, like there's 9 races and then a final, and they have the 3-tier system, so it gives you lots of options.
Yes. Okay, let's talk some horses. Let's begin with Arabella's Cadet. Now, this is Dewey Cheatham and Howe filly. Walnut Hall Limited bred her. She got a half brother made 100,000, and you scooped her for 12 grand out of Lexington.
Yeah, I thought she was a real bargain. We were prepared to go more. I'm sorry the breeder has to hear that, but we were prepared to go a little higher. But she was a big filly, kind of growthy, heavy in the bone. But I had seen her 2-year-old brother race in New York. Ray Schnichter had both the first 2 foals actually, and I didn't mind him racing. He raced in the consolation final at Saratoga.
Okay. Now, with that one, you trained Muscle Loss. This is a muscle mass filly that came from Northfield Farm. It was actually the breeder. 19,000 Harrisburg.
Yeah, really attractive filly, athletic. I know to John, that mare's been a disappointment to him.
This is Dr. John McKnight.
Dr. John McKnight. He thought that she should have produced more. That's why he ended up sending this mare to a person in the States to breed her, and I believe he still owns part of her. I'm not sure, but yeah, actually it was John that got me onto her. He said, I got a really nice muscle mass in New York that you should have a look at.
Worth the effort?
Yeah, I think. I mean, you know, we have trot and hobbles on her, and that's just because her mind goes a little faster than her legs, you know. And but great gaited, you know, and good positive attitude so far. So we'll see.
Okay, we've got X's and O's. This is a Conway Hall filly. 30,000 out of Harrisburg that you had to pay to breeders Ed Lohmeyer and his wife Dr. Patty Hogan, and Ed raced the mother, Pacific Centerfold, and she won 100,000. Left a couple $100,000 earners. You fussed up 30. You like what you see?
I like her. We like the Conways. Both my partners really like Conway Halls, and so that made it. They pushed me a little more towards her. She was the first horse in the 3rd day at Harrisburg, so I thought we had a shot at buying her for a reasonable price. I thought 22 to 25, but we ended up going to 30. We're okay.
You're right. Okay. We also have IMF. This is a Chapter 7 filly. Steve Stewart and Thomas Magliozzi bred. This is the first foal of the dam. 25,000 out of Harrisburg. That doesn't look too bad on paper.
No, this filly had a super video. That's what attracted me. We were looking for a Chapter 7 to begin with, but as you well know, they were very pricey. But I went and looked at her video, really liked it. I went to see her, and I said, where's the rest of her? She was really small. And
I was just going to ask you, do you like the Chapter 7 type? Because a number of fellow trainers have said, you know, their size maybe is a question you got to get through, and then they're a little blocky as opposed to long. What do you think?
What I've seen so far, I like them. I really like the couple I had a race against in New York last year, and but I like this filly. She's my favorite, and we'll see what happens.
Okay. Then we have Miller Time. This is a Windsong Espoir that you bought privately from DeVos Stables in Langton, Ontario. And people would certainly know her sister from a few years ago, Designable, who made better part of 600,000. 14th foal though.
Yeah, she's from an old mare. That's a little bit of a concern, I guess, to some people. It doesn't bother me because I'm buying the individual. I really like the. Terry posted her on the for sale board, and we were looking for another one, and I went down to look at her, but she was out in the field with another Windsong mare and standing in 6 inches of mud, so I really couldn't see much, and they had no halters on, so I said to Terry, geez, can I take her and try her for a month, and if I like her, I'll buy her. And so he said, yeah, sure. And she ended up here, and third day I hooked her, I said, we're buying this filly.
Yeah, good stuff. And then you had unfinished business. This is a Glide Master gelding, homebred. You raced the mother, Oakley Ray, and she's produced a couple $100,000 winners. And Mr. Muscle, a 2-year-old from last year, not a world champion, but he made about 70.
Yeah, he's the best 2-year-old we've raced out of her. He had a couple bad lucks because he could have won a couple golds, but he forgot to stick his nose out. So, we're hoping for better. He grew up quite a bit. He filled out, and we're hoping for better things from him this year.
Gelding here.
Gelding, we geld them all.
Just automatic, wasn't it?
I'm not a believer that anything we're going to raise is going to make a stud down the road. So they're a lot easier to handle. They keep their mind on their business better, and we do them early, and that's it.
Great. Okay, well, good luck in the weeks ahead, and thank you very much, and we'll see you in summer.
Hopefully we'll see you in the winter circle. Thanks for having us.
Harold Howe with Mark Etsell, 2-year-olds in training.